Alright, it's reading notes time for today, Friday, 12 January 2024. I'm Tanis Leonardi. This is my YouTube channel, Tanis Leonardi, filming this in the northern suburbs of Seattle, King County, Washington State, United States of America, Planet Earth, the original. And the reading notes are for the book I am currently reading, The Race of the Century, The Battle to Break the 4-Minute Mile by Neal Bascomb. And I decided I had not set a certain number of pages I was going to read today. I did 5 pages 2 days ago, and then 10 pages yesterday. And I'll link to both those videos in the video description, as well as the video where I introduced this in my playlist where I put some of these notes videos. Or like report. Yeah, they're like communicating my reading notes, book and or reading notes. And so I decided to go with, so I did 5 pages 2 days ago and 10 pages yesterday. So I decided to go with 10 pages again today. And I'm going to do the structure a little bit differently. Yes, because part of this is video fun and concept testing for these paginated approaches videos. So it's like I'm going to do 10 pages a day. So this is a 10 pages per day video approach again. And I'm going to break it into thematic notes. So pages 16 through 19, I'm gonna treat in its own note section. So like, and there'd be timestamp in the video description for those pages, because there was a coherent theme there. And then pages 20 through 25, those are different chapter, as they're currently called in YouTube videos, different segment of the video. So a little YouTube specific there as well. So pages 16 to 25, so 10 pages. Yes. All right, let's jump into, that's the introduction. And let's go starting on page, so section 1. Starting on page 16. So it picks up where I left off from yesterday, and it's 16 through 19 is talking about Wes Santee, an American swimmer, and providing some background leading up to the 1952 Olympic Games in Helsinki, Finland. I've learned that now by this point in the book. From the book itself, though it took a little bit to get there. It brings up the AAU a number of times, which is the only capacity that I think this is the same one, is I edited a page on Wikipedia for the Sullivan Award, is that the name of it? That was supposed to be the amateur union award for like athletes these days, but it also awards like professional athletes. So I'm like, as someone who's not ever made money from sports, I would not want to win that award when there's professionals winning it, right? So much for caring about the rest of us folk, kind of thing. But is that a side note? No, because that's actually what I'm thinking about when I'm reading this. I'm like, I wonder if this is the same thing. So it kind of, the gist with Wes Santee as opposed to Roger Bannister, who I talked about in the previous 2 reading videos. So Roger Bannister kind of like selected running of his own initiative a little bit later. Wes Santee was like always the best. Whereas with Roger Bannister, it wasn't necessary, like he was good, but it wasn't like, you know, head and shoulders above the rest. He kind of was like, took his own initiative and starting and like really working on self-improvement. Versus Wes Santee, it was a lot more externally motivated. As portrayed here than it was for Roger Bannister, and he was like always good at it, which like per my own sporting experience would be like, so essentially, because my sporting experience in training and stuff and like club competition and stuff, like my competition experience, there we go, in multiple sports is United States of America. It's like essentially this kid is like the kid that started competing in club sports at like age 6, 7, or 8, like year-round training. And so later he's faster than everyone else just because he trains more. And then the paint to himself is kind of like the natural talent, when really it's just he trained longer. Not necessarily trained more than anybody else, but like more and longer. It's a weird combination. And then they paint it as naturally talented and just dominant in every way. Kind of thing, and that's definitely still, this was like, right, 1940s, 1950s, and I was like, well, that's definitely still how they frame it today. This is 2024, so some things don't ever change. I thought it was kind of interesting, and it was an interesting section to read in contrast with Roger Bannister, who was introduced before him, because Roger Bannister, you know, was London in during, you know, World War II, so a bunch of bombings, and like they couldn't even hold sporting competitions, you know, because they didn't have the facilities, like, kind of thing, and the means to compete. And so on the flip side, there's kind of this what nowadays might be called bougie Wes Santee, who has pristine racing resources, right? Completely unaffected on home soil by the World War II and stuff like that. And so when reading this, I'm just kind of like, well, isn't that a contrast? Nowadays, that might be called a spoiled brat, but it's not really a spoiled brat. It's just resources and amenities available in a far easier capacity. It doesn't have to work for it or fear for his life, like Roger Bannister being like, please don't bomb me and my family, as the house falls down around him, you know, kind of thing. So there was just kind of like, whew, night and day there in terms of just ease of living. And it was kind of in reading it, so like, I live in the United States of America, and then for the 2020 Summer Olympic Games held in Tokyo, Japan in 2021, I wrote about a bunch of United States of America competitors, and wrote and published on Wikipedia about that. And reading this section kind of reminded me a little bit of that. It was like, sometimes there are people I like, and then there are people I don't like, right? And I took it very much as like a community service project, kind of writing about. And some of the people I wrote about, I did not return to. Right, so some people got taken over by other writers, and I was like, whoo, and some people I just didn't like. Right, and so I'm not saying I don't like this Wes Santee person, just the wording and terminology and treatment here by the author reminds me of some of the people I didn't like because they were overhyped by the press that I wrote about and stopped writing about because they were overhyped by the press. Not like with Tori Husk, who I stopped writing about. I like her, but there was other people writing, you know, kind of thing. So, yeah. Which reminds me, I'm going to postpone my starting the appeal process because I'm going to do something really smart. So, which I said I was thinking of doing today, like just logging in and seeing what it looks like. I'm going to do something super smart. I'm going to do 2 steps. I was reading it, and I came up with it when I was reading these 10 pages that like it popped in with the AAU stuff. 1. I'm going to make an action plan for if I am unblocked, because that's the hardest part with getting past a block. What the heck do I do when I get back? Like, if I get unblocked, what do I do to do extra precaution to make sure I don't just get blocked again, right? Choose 3 pages, and this is what I have to do before I can go log into the appeal thing. So, date to be determined on starting that appeal process and like logging in and making that video. 1, I need to define 3 pages articles that I want to contribute to other than my user page, which needs to be updated, by the way, curated, and it's 3 articles to contribute to like I did in the past. It's like, because I've missed over 6 months of competitions now. So that was 1 that I did not create, so maybe Thomas Chechon. 1 page that I did create that has been attacked through vandalism in the past to make sure that I do not react, right? Just even keel editing, so maybe Thomas Heilman, and then somebody who was not attacked like Thomas Heilman was attacked, but is a new article I created, and Shane Cassis. So maybe it's those 3, but I need to write it down and actually like be like, what am I gonna do, and put my user page in there, be like, chronology, whose pages am I gonna edit, why am I editing it, that, and what am I editing, right? And that's only if I get unblocked. If I don't get unblocked, right, that's why I'm only choosing 3 pages, right? If I don't get unblocked, it's not too much effort lost, but there is thought put into it in advance. And then the second thing I need to do, write down like 2 or 3 sentences, like the apology I was talking about, and then returning to editing my editing style before the edits in question that got me blocked, right? Say, right, make that clear and make sure it sounds good. That way when I log into the appeal process, it doesn't completely make me forget all of that stuff. It's already written down. And I have like a rough draft for like what I would submit in appeal. And to see if their prompt is something and what I wrote is like not appropriate whatsoever, then don't do it. But if it is, then I have a rough draft I can start with. Okay, so that all stemmed from these 4 pages. Then the next 6 pages, page 20 to 25, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay. Introduces Australian John Landy. Oh dear. So John Landy is a little bit more like, as presented here, more like Roger Bannister than Wes Santee. And they, again, choosing the sport of one's own initiative. Roger Bannister was like, I would say, entirely of their own initiative. Wes Santee was like very much societally like influenced, as how external influence. And then John Landy, this guy, the Australian, as presented in these 6 pages, is like the in-between, but closer to Roger Bannister than Wes Santee. In terms of, I'm my own coach and have been for a while, since January 2006, okay, in running. I'm a she, her, hers, and my 1 mile run time is in sub 5 minutes. And I did that I started running that fast back in 2012 when I was a teenager. So I'm speedy, but not as speedy as these guys, at least not these days. So in reading this, I do evaluate, right? People like Wes Santee rub me a little bit the wrong way when they're so externally motivated. And so I was happy to return to somebody who is a little bit more internally motivated, like myself, John Landy. And so he's kind of an interesting character. He has some Australian rules football. He has football, which reminded me, I was like, oh, Kyle Chalmers, fastest human in the 100 meters swimming race. 44.84 seconds all time. At least I haven't seen that's been updated, but I haven't been. Yeah, okay, that was from 2021. Could be faster now. But so like I thought of that when I was reading it. It talks about a role of a certain coach, and kind of the coach being a really good mentor in the sense of like he doesn't actually coax Landy. It's kind of more like presenting an opportunity to pursue running, and letting Landy make the choice himself. So again, very not America, which is like American sporting, I'm learning at like the highest level is very much of like other people choose for you. And with Landy and Bannister, they're very much like we choose running because we want to pursue running, which that's why I chose it, right? So Wes Santee is the most unlike me of the 3. And so I like the return to Landy, or not return to Landy, but introduction of Landy, because I was like, okay, this is someone who's a little bit closer to me. Like in terms of my, like, why to run. And has and I really liked the football background, and they do like training in different sports and stuff. And I'm like, I have 9 years of competition experience in soccer, 12 in swimming, and I've been running for over 16 years now. Right, of road running of my own initiative, and I only did 1 season in track and field, but then I also competed in water polo for a number of years and stuff. So I like the multi-sport person, and not like cross country and track and field, right? Like actually something different, football. So I like the guy for this. In reading this, and he like running with the shoes off and stuff, and I was like thinking to my dad, and I was like, well, maybe my dad pursues breaking the 4-minute barrier himself in the 1 mile run, or maybe he does an even cooler sport which requires a little bit of very like well formatted running, javelin throwing. You just see my dad in the backyard doing like really like very strong strides and then throwing. Yeah, it's like my dad, the world record holder in javelin throw. That'd be very cool. And then I was like, oh, so, okay, and that has running. Like, there's very controlled running in that sport, javelin throw. And then he would be like a badass modern-day spear thrower. And then I was thinking of my mom and Running Legacy, and maybe she's teaching at Shoreline Community College, and there's the program Running Start, and so maybe the highlight of the who's enrolled in her classes are the Running Start students. And she thinks of me, her daughter runner, out there being like, I'm living in Scotland, Great Britain, and Hungary, and here I am, and I'm trying to find, I'm hindsight stalking Roger Bannister in every place he ran, and now I'm gonna go try and find those places and run, even if it means running on the streets. So, yeah. I'm gonna have to refilm this, aren't I? No! Okay, conclusion. We'll see if this is too long for me to upload. Dang it, I took too long. And if not, well, that's all, folks.